So, check this real talk. Society has created this ideology that in order for you to make it into the world as a woman, there's a sexy that you need to give people. But the truth of the matter is, first of all, sexy is something that is relative to each and every person. And also, once the sexy is gone, what do you actually have to offer to the world beyond that? Because there's got to be something way more to you than the aesthetic that you give to people. And there are many.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of The Price of Fame. This is episode 17 in season 2. My name is Lunga Chuka, and I'll be your host. Tonight's guest, ladies and gentlemen, is an actress, a TEDx speaker, a TV host, and model. Without further ado, please welcome to the screen, ladies and gentlemen, the very beautiful Refilwe Modiselle.
Hey, how are we doing this?
Round of applause.
Hey.
Good evening to you, Refilwe. How are you doing?
Good evening, Lunga. How are you doing?
I am very well, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing us to have you as a guest on The Price of Fame. Super excited to get to know you and you watch your stories like, what was the come up of Refilwe? So, and
Everybody say the scream.
Awesome stuff. So, are you good this evening?
I'm beautiful. I'm blessed. I'm good. I'm generally just good. Like I try,
Yes, that's good. That's good. It's always lovely to be in good spirits. And like, if there's one thing that really lifts my mood kind of every day without fail is the sunsets and the sunrises. Have you ever seen the sunsets lately? It's been looking quite amazing. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the sunsets.
I have. I think I've also just been seeing people, when they document their own little sunsets, and it's just like, wow, is this what Joburg looks like? My goodness.
Yeah, no, things have changed. I'm starting to believe in that shift that's happening, that energetic shift starting to show itself,
Oh, are you
So,
an energy baby? Lunga, are you an
yeah,
energy baby?
the way, all the way.
Vibes!
All the way.
Yeah.
Awesome. Maybe we can get into some of that. But before we dive into our conversation, so with season 2, we're trying something a little different where the guests get to participate, and ask a few questions by sending in us voice notes through the app that we're using, Anchor FM. So we've got one guest that has a question for you. She sent a voice note through, but don't worry, we view all the voice notes and we listen to them before we bring them on, just to make sure there's no weird things going on. So,
Listen, I stays ready. I stays ready. So throw anything at me. I'm your girl.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna let Saskia cue the voice note, and then we can hear what she has to say, and hopefully you can answer a question. Saskia, take it away.
Wanted to say you're doing an amazing job on the podcast. I thoroughly enjoy your content, and I'm super excited that you have one of my favorite celebrities in SA with you tonight, Miss Modiselle. She's such an inspiration. So intelligent, so wise. I mean, every time she speaks, I learn something new. And so I've got 2 questions for her. The first question is, how did she get the name Vanilla Black? And my second question is, how did she unlock her purpose and what was that experience like? Thank you so much, guys. Happy Tuesday.
Wow, okay. So I think that is important. And she would like to know, how'd you get the name Vanilla Black? And how'd you unlock your purpose? Wow, that's a deep one.
Shoo. Is it deep? Is it really deep?
Right. Well,
so
depending on the testimony.
Okay, so the name Vanilla Black was actually, how can I say it? Now I'm also showing my age, right? I'm trying to like duck from the age thing. But basically, at the beginning of Twitter, right? When Twitter had started, you needed to create your handle or your pseudonym, basically. And I sat there and I thought, okay, let me call myself Vanilla Black. But the irony is that at the time, I didn't understand why it is I was like calling myself Vanilla Black. I just thought, okay, black person who is a vanilla, who looks white. But
Yeah.
until I had a conversation with my uncle, and my uncle said to me, do you know that the vanilla seed is actually black in its original form? Until you produce it, it's then, deemed as something that is white. And I thought, wow, that is amazing. For me, I was just trying to make the combos communicate because
Yeah.
it's literally black person who looks white, so vanilla black. But just that combination for me made it even more special because it was just like, oh, vanilla black. The seed is actually black, but you came out white, girl.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
You see,
and
that's deep
how to
right there.
yeah, it's very deep, but also I think it also alludes to sometimes life. God kind of plants a seed as to how it is that He wants your DNA to come out and express itself. And I think I didn't realize that as a child. The same thing with certain patterns in life. You'll go through certain things without understanding that God is very intentional and deliberate as to why it is that He's placed that thought or idea or concept in your mind. And you learn to really understand it as you go. Well, if you're on the deeper side of life, you learn to really understand it once it like shows itself to you, and you're like, oh, a moment of epiphany. And how I
Yeah,
discovered my purpose was, I think, through the journey of just being Refilwe and everything that she had to go through. There was a moment where I had to sit down and do introspection and literally look at this thing and try and understand as to, number one, who I am, and number two, the direction in which I'm going and why it is that God had created me the way I was created. Because I mean, hey, I'm not I'm not exactly your typical DNA, you know what I mean, according to what society wants to place as an ideology. But I was just like, man, um I understood it through my experiences and everything that I had to go through, that okay, Refilwe essentially is a person who was brought into this earth as a lesson for the many people out there. First of all, when it comes to the idea that race is so important, it actually isn't. At some point, it isn't, because you need to be able to see the humanness in me to
yeah,
respect me over and above what it is that I represent on
yes,
a aesthetics level. And so for me, I learned that how Refilwe was born was to just give a lesson to the world about just tolerance and just acceptance amongst us all, just as humanity. And two, I'm a teacher, I'm a teacher and I'm a healer. So it's through the numerous disciplines and the things that I went through and my experiences, I learned that Refilwe is actually a teacher and a healer through the many disciplines that she's had to go through.
yes. That is
Yeah,
so true. I mean, our story gives us purpose. Our story, our journey
that's right.
defines and gives us purpose, and that's
That's it.
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing that you actually, took that perspective, and you
Yeah.
actually came against what everyone has to say about,
And
someone who
very
has,
young, at a
you know,
very, very young age, at a very, very young age, because I've been in this industry for a long time,
yeah,
maybe 20 plus years. Actually, that's what people don't know. But it's like, whoa, okay, she discovered this at such a young age, and this also just speaks to how God really paves your path. It's just the difference is, when are you listening and how are you listening?
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that you said it started at a very young age, because I think that's would be my first question, because I want to know, when did all of this start, this journey that you took upon yourself, when you decide that I have to be something special, and
yeah.
the industry was something that sparked you. Can you give us the age where you were living, and what was it that sparked this whole journey?
Ironically, I stepped into the industry at age 13, oblivious and unaware of what it is that I was doing. It was something that I never wished upon myself or even desired, because, first of all, there was no albinism representation. If you really have to think about it, if you have to think about the year 1999, right? That's
Yeah.
how far back we go. So do the math. I is 36. But at age 13, literally at a tender age of 13, what does a child like myself, who see no representation on the screens, know about becoming a model. The ideology wasn't even there about somebody like myself becoming a model. But I was scouted at age 13 by the infamous Sheldon Kopman. And I was in school. There was a girl in school who actually approached me and she said, my sister works for a boutique, but they're doing a shoot. Would you be interested? And I thought, okay, this is so weird. But she was just
Yeah.
like, look, and I took a chance, but a chance obviously, which was a bit of a, I don't want to say a risk at the time, but it was
Yeah.
far-fetched because my mother was not into the whole idea of having a child of as a model. I mean, who does that? And especially like within the Black community, just back in the day, I think creatively we were not amped like that to be in spaces like that.
Yeah.
And yes, with the slight reluctance, but just like, okay, let her do this. And lo and behold, she let me do it. So at age 13, I became a model, but it didn't last very long because obviously I was like at a tender age, and the modeling industry is very doggy dog. It's a whole other thing to go through. And I think at the time I was just too vulnerable for me to be able to experience everything, just at that age of being, just exposed outright like that. So it started at age 13, but it stopped also because I come from an academic family. My academics were very important. So they said, okay, we're going to park this one. And should you decide after matric that this is what you want to do, you can pursue it. And without me and them thinking maybe I'd forgotten, I didn't ask for it. Listen, the bug bit me and said, we're going to pull you in.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I got approached to model. So I was
Wow.
literally thrown into destiny, being unaware of what it is, the plant that, not even the plant, the seed that was being planted for my destiny and the purpose in it and what would happen just going forward. And that's what happened. After my matric year, I was modeling while in tertiary. So I was juggling the books. I was juggling the
Yeah.
books and doing the modeling on the side. And I just gradually did it. Like, and metamorphosized into so many other things, within this very long journey. Because if you think about 13 and 36, it's literally been 23 years of
Yeah.
me existing in an entertainment.
Wow. Like I can relate so much with what you said, like with the experience being overwhelming in the beginning, because I also I remember when I started modeling, or when I went to like my first casting, and I
Sure.
saw, and I'm like, I see these guys are way taller than me, way good looking than me.
Right.
They look like models already. Some of them are not even from South Africa. There's
Yeah.
Brazilian
Yeah.
people, is Congolese and all of that. And I'm like, what am I doing here? And also the rejection and like,
Right.
yeah, and like when you get
But then
excited,
the expectation. There's an expectation, but you must remember that the worst part about my experience was that I started at the time where there was absolutely no reference to myself. I'm
yeah,
sure at the time there was only, let me see who, Connie Chu. And Connie Chu was a model with albinism from China. She was like
yeah,
the very first in the world. But it was just like in Africa, even then, there was no representation like that. The only
yeah,
other person that I'd ever seen in mainstream who was like in any form of stardom was Salif Keita, if we actually have to think about it. But within the
yeah,
modeling space, zero, right?
yeah,
And just as a kid, not even understanding what it is I was throwing myself into. I mean, there was a time when I remember that it was a huge designer called Julian. And just at that age, I was supposed to model in South African Fashion Week, to be the showstopper, to open a show. And they literally
yeah,
said to me, not even to me, but they said it to my mother. They said, you do understand that this is a big deal. If she goes into it, she's going to have a lot of media on her back, a lot of attention. And my mom just said, no, zip, stop right there. We're going to
yeah,
stop the lorry because I'm not exposing my child to that.
yeah,
Um, to this day, I'm like, oh, but I think she had good reasons to do that because she was protecting me from a very volatile industry that could have maybe eaten me up way too early.
yes.
But I had to be nurtured through time, and be ready and ripe, to be able to handle all of that.
Like, and how did you like attend castings? Because castings happen during the day, and you said you were
Yeah.
during school as well. So how would you get away from school every time to attend the casting? Because castings also
Was it
they
high
sometimes let
school
you
or
know.
tertiary? Because you must remember that when I did my shoot with Y magazine, I think it was
Mm,
when I was 13 years old. They literally, when was it? I think it was during the weekend. So they
yeah,
permitted for it, and also at the same time, I think I went to a school where it is that they kind of sort of understood. I think they let me get away a little bit, with it because I was actually in school with Sade Giliberti.
okay,
So yeah, I was in school with Sade
okay,
Giliberti. She was a senior above me. So I think they really understood the dynamic of somebody who came
yeah,
from that space. But the only difference is that for me, it wasn't so busy. But I think because
yeah,
they had been exposed, it wasn't something new. They were like, okay, let's go. But even then, at that age, I wasn't going to too many castings, and they were very cognizant that I was in school. So they would bank it for like a weekend
yeah,
rather to accommodate the fact that she is in school. But I didn't go to many costumes. That's another
yeah.
thing. I would be
Okay.
handpicked, and even then, if I was going to castings more that happened in my life after my matric year, when I was in my first year, I juggled. Listen, in
Yeah,
tertiary, it's a whole different discipline. You're able to try and juggle, the books with what you're
yeah.
doing on the outside. Yeah, it's very different from high school.
And like you mentioned that your mom kind of like put a cap on the whole, the
Yeah.
journey at certain point, obviously to protect you. And obviously at the time you probably felt like, no, you're holding me away from my
I was a
dreams.
kid. I was like, no. Why do
Yeah.
you hate me?
Um, besides that, do you have any other challenges, in the household with you trying to pursue your career and also in your community, like how did everyone take to your journey?
Okay. So firstly, I'm originally born in the township, right? So I think just growing up in the township until I was about 4 years old, first of all, puts you in a specific headspace where it is that you're already exposed to a kind of, I don't want to say attitude, but behavior that people they have towards you. So I don't want to call it a childhood trauma because really, I wouldn't say it's a childhood trauma because I've managed to get out of it. But the mere factor that I was a black child born in a predominantly black community because I'm from Soweto, and having to then adapt to going to the city where at least the city offers you more versatility. So the integration is a lot more easier, but
Yeah,
you still having to face the battles of, first of all, you're not the ideology of every black child, right? So you're born in the apartheid era, because 86 was like the apartheid era, and having to grow through that up until the like 90s is a very
yeah,
tough experience, just I think just from a mental perspective, but I didn't really feel it because my parents never really placed like importance to it and said, oh, let's address an elephant in the room. So I would experience a lot of what I would experience from society and not from home. They really shielded me, but with that being said, but also allowed me to be the person that I needed to be. So some of those were just some of the things that I would experience from society, whether it be the comments that would come from people, whether it be the looks. So I've always had attention. People assume
yeah,
that when you're in the entertainment industry, you're like, oh, you want attention. I'm like, I actually don't need it because I've always had attention from a
yeah,
very young age, just, not deliberately, but because I'm the person that I am and I had to walk through society and deal with what I had to deal. So already even having to gain a backbone from a very young age,
yeah,
unaware, was something that I had to go through. It was the questions, it was the many questions, it was the understanding that age 13 you're going into the modeling industry in a space that you're not aware of. What does that also come with? It comes with a lot of rejection. I went through a lot of that. A lot of people assume that I worked a lot. I actually didn't work a lot. Like you would assume that because she was so different, she was really like working, working, working. I really didn't work a lot. I just got, I don't say lucky, but I was
mhm,
cast for stuff where, or I would get booked for stuff where it is that was specifically, tailored to me, as
yeah,
opposed to the normal typical model. But also,
yeah,
I wasn't the tallest girl, so I had to mentally be okay with the fact that, I'm just the models. There's a model who was very short. It wasn't named Kim. I forgot what her name was. But there was a model that was international supermodel who was short. So I had to also custom myself to saying, I'm very special because I'm not your typical really a 1.8 meter tall model, and just be cool with it. But also just do my thing with the utmost confidence. I had the body, I had the looks according to me, and not according to the blueprint of how they want to specify what Black beauty or beauty is. So there's a lot of confidence that I had to adapt to and inherently just manifest within myself through those experiences. But the difficulties were there. The difficulties were losing a father at a very early age unexpectedly, and just having adapted to a single parent household. That was very tough because automatically I think it made me grow up quickly without anybody having a conversation about it. But the truth is it made me grow up quickly because automatically you feel like you need to be your mom's right hand, you need to be her defender, her protector, you need to be your sister's deputy president mom. So those are just some of the challenges that I went through: rejection from industry and just personal aspects of life, of things that I had to go through just in the journey of being Refilwe, and challenges like any other person, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that you spoke of height, I'm curious to know, how tall are you?
I'm 169.
Okay.
I'm 169. So I'm
I
not
think
short,
that's
short, but I'm not like the ideology of how they ordinarily, because they pick from about 1.7 to about 1.72, 1.75. So 1.7 going up. Yeah.
What's the craziest modeling gig you ever done? Where you're like, what? Okay, but let's do it.
I wouldn't say let's do it. I would say the one that I really turned down and was very upset and mad about.
Okay.
Because I was asked, as you know, when you get, okay, so you get asked, okay, you booked a job, right?
Yeah.
But this is the difference. You could book the model and you could book the brand. And the brand
Yeah.
is Refilwe. So I got sold by the agent. No, they want Refilwe Modiselle. Fine, not a problem. I get into there. Obviously, Refilwe Modiselle has built a image of herself over the years of how also she wants to represent herself, as opposed to your typical representation of albinism was always been placed in the ugly
Yeah.
context and not in a glamorous way. And for me, I'm just like, listen, I'm a woman. I love looking beautiful. I'm a glamorous. So that's always just been my aesthetic, because that's just me. I've got a lot of self-love.
Yes.
I went to this shoot. Lo and behold, I'm not going to mention the brand, but it is a massive global brand based in Paris.
Oh,
um,
Paris.
yes, based in Paris. And yeah. And then so they were coming down to South Africa to shoot, and they were doing this entire campaign, hair campaign. And then as I got to this campaign, they then started to strip me down. I call it stripping down because now you're taking away everything of who Refilwe is. And I called my agent and I was just like, no, but you guys said they want Refilwe Modiselle. So why am I getting into a space where it feels like they could have gotten anybody off of the streets and putting them in this shoot? And I
Yeah.
was mad. And then what ticked me off even worse was that they did a group dynamic where it wasn't just me, but a whole bunch of people with albinism. And for me, I've always been very firm with the idea of not doing that, purely because I want to teach people that if you're going to integrate a person like myself, do it normally so that we get out of the mindset of
Yeah.
saying this is a specific category of peoples or person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was upset because I was just like, but I hate group dynamics. I've just come to this shoot and now all of a sudden this is what's happening and they're stripping me. I was angry. Nonetheless, I did the shoot, though I was a child at the time also, I call it that, because I was not firm in making that decision. But literally, I think what had happened is that I probably cost them 500,000, right, for that campaign because I refused to do it. And they're very upset with me. And then we parted ways with that agency, the model agent.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm not about to go against everything that I fought for in terms of
Yeah.
albinism representation always being put as these people who are bland, who have no character, who are in a specific way. I'm not that person. I'm a colorful person who is a beautiful woman, who's well groomed, who absolutely loves herself and loves the idea of exploring an aesthetic that has so much to offer.
Yeah.
I stood by it and I did not regret. When that relationship fizzled, I said, okay, I'll make peace with it. I'm good because I know everything else that's going to come is going to be, how can I say, anointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like your Dave Chappelle moment. Do you know the story of Dave Chappelle where he said no to all that money, because they were kind of like they wanted to portray him in some kind of way that he didn't feel comfortable with. In his own little series that he came up with, which was called the Chappelle Show. And that way, I think he felt a little racial things going on there, and he's like, "No, I won't do this. I won't play it that way." And he said no to a huge amount of money, and that was like
Listen,
also a
sometimes,
thing for him, So said something like
yeah.
it sounds like your Chappelle moment, your Sadie
Listen,
Chappelle.
it's definitely
But
a Chappelle moment because if you don't stand firm in what you believe in, then you're going against everything that you're trying to build. And for
absolutely,
me, as a pioneer, it's been years of demystifying everything that was there and literally being the person that tries to break those barriers that were created by people to say you can't do this and you can't do that. And for me, it's just
yeah,
like, don't tell me what I cannot do because the only force that can dictate anything is my God. For you as a human being who is here to live on this earth, why are you dictating to me?
yeah,
Why are you dictating to me? Because you're also on a path. You're also on a journey of self-discovery. Who says this is law unless you're trying to control me? And for me
yeah,
personally, I don't like control.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, look, I fully like resonate with what you're saying and how you feel, because that's a stance that I also take with myself, because I basically grew up in Mitchell's Plain all of my life.
Yeah.
I've been probably from early as the ages of 3 years old. And I lost touch with, where we used to live, which was in Khayelitsha. So I didn't speak any Xhosa. I had now colored friends growing up. So I lost touch with speaking my mother tongue, And when I went to multiracial school, the friends that I had were colored, so the black kids always used to like pick on myself and my sister, and they used to bully us, and they always used to tell us that you're wrong or you're like misplaced and all of that, And I'm just like, that experience may force me to look at people and see people first, like you say, see a
Yeah.
human first,
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
put me in a class of that kind of, because once you put me in a class, you're gonna be so surprised because you're gonna find
That's
that
it.
I'm a colorful person. There's so many things to me, and you're gonna be like,
That's
no,
it.
but you're supposed to. No, but you're so.
No, don't tell me what I'm supposed to. Because you and
Absolutely.
I, you and I are we're from the same force that's made us. Whatever you
Yes.
choose to
Yes.
believe in, we're from the exact
Yeah.
same thing. So what makes you think you can dictate to me what my
Yeah.
master plan is when my maker is the one that actually speaks and says, this is how I want to define you, not according to what somebody on this planet is going to try and define you, but according to
Yeah.
what I want for you.
Absolutely. I love it. Preach, sister.
That's right.
And like like in your modeling career, and I read a bit from your bio, and and I saw there it mentions that you're a TEDx speaker, and a little bit you did a little
Yes.
bit of
The
TV
modeling
host
has
as
fallen
well.
away. I would like to say that very confidently because I
Okay.
think even before this interview, like I'm very firm on saying, guys, do not address me as model anymore. I mean, I
Okay.
love that it's given me Africa's first successful model of albinism. That's great. That's a title that's always going to stay because I absolutely own it. But I think I have evolved so much, and that also speaks to
Absolutely.
how going against the grail is so important because it says you're not stuck in one place. but you are a chameleon who can explore the gifts that you've been given. The only difference is that, are you actually listening to this that is leading you to whichever
Yeah.
direction that you're supposed to go? And also just the idea that you can't stay with one thing. Society has made this idea that you have to stick to one thing, and I'm like, but who said that? Why?
Yeah.
Because it makes you feel comfortable that you can box me. It's okay that I don't want to be boxed. Really, it's really fine. If I
Yeah.
if I'm doing 100 other things and you really can't put it in words, that's your problem. That's absolutely not mine. The most important thing is that I'm fulfilling whatever I need to fulfill.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
like, at what point did you like, okay, put the modeling behind and start branching out into everything else that you've experienced? At what point in your career did you like make that shift?
That shift happened automatically and not consciously, by the way. And that's why it's very important to be able to listen to your journey and understand when there's a bigger voice that speaks above your own thinking. Because for me, the modeling then, kind of sort of grew into acting. That's another thing. People think the acting happened now. I'm like, no, actually. Sometimes what happens is that as much as you're a model, but you're then placed in roles where it is they're like saying, okay, you're going to be in this film or you're going to play this character. Yes, you're a model, whatever the case is. But then that then evolves into other things where you start exploring. And I think
Yeah.
because of also being a model and being so vocal, I think my voice was recognized for, wait a minute, she's actually not just a pretty face. She's very intellectual and she can speak. Like, she has a voice that is so powerful in terms of just intellect and being able to dissect so many things. That's when I got approached to then become a TV host for a show called XA Let's Talk in the year, what year was it, 2013?
Yeah.
2013, we did Excel Let's Talk, where I was a part of a three-panel, and not three-panel, a panel that had three hosts. And, we'd talk about contentious issues. So there was Excel Let's Talk, where I became a TV host, and I moved from that, and I did, what was it called? Hash. I did a show called, entertainment show called Hash. And in the midst
Yeah.
of being a TV host, I was dabbling into the acting. So in about 2012 as well, I got to do Tell Me Sweet Something, which was a Keen Omotosho's film, his first rom-com. I got to do that. So it's like the many discipline just essentially just happened as I went, and also because I allowed myself to explore. So it's like the
Yeah.
modeling and trickled into the acting, trickled into the presenting, trickled into the speaking. Because essentially also when you start speaking, people are like, okay, we love her thought trail, we love what she has to offer. Can she start doing talking, MC gigs? Not MC gigs, sorry, speaking gigs, but yes, also MC gigs. Because of the voice, became a voice
Yeah.
artist. And yes, I have a singing history as well. So there's just so
Okay.
many things that just trickled into other things, and it was just a matter of just touching everything and finding what it is that was being put in the forefront as a level of importance at that stage in life.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
happened to the singing? Why do we see any? Why don't we hear about any singing? What happened to that gift? Huh? What happened to that girl? Where is she?
Can I tell you, the funniest thing is sometimes they say that the thing that you love the most can be the thing that scares you the most. And I didn't realize that until I went through the process where it is that, for me, I couldn't be able to articulate it at the time that it happened. So I
Yeah.
started being a backing vocalist for KB Mutsulanyane, Miss Rock Lefatsi, at the age of 18. So also while I was in school doing the modeling, I was singing on the side as well, just to make extra money, because she'd heard me the one time I'd come to studio, and because there was a friend of mine who was a friend with the producer at the time. And she said to me, hey, let's go to the studio. And I thought, okay, cool, that's nice. And then the producer said to me, hey, Teripinana, he said to me, hey, I heard you can sing. And I was like so shy about it. And then I started singing for him. And he was like, what? And only to find that from the house, KB could hear me. And then she approached me and she said, hey, because it was also her studio at the time. And
Yeah.
she said to me, how would you feel about making some extra money by being my backing vocalist? And I said, hell yeah, why not? And that's how
Yeah.
the singing came in, and gradually, like on the side, while I was dabbling in the modeling and school, I was juggling a
Yeah.
singing career as a backing vocalist. That fell away because I think I listened to the noise. I listened to a voice that I was not supposed to listen to, and that was somebody who was trying to compare me and say to me, "You'll never be like the likes of Beyonce." So the irony is that I never listened to all that nonsense. Like for me, for somebody with such a hard edge, I fell into a trap, and I
Yeah.
listened to that negativity, and the devil got me. Like he got me where he wanted me to
Yeah.
be, and I literally just fell away because I thought also, Beyonce is such a giant, to be told that you will never amount to be like a Beyonce. I mean, I never wanted to be like a Beyonce, but
Yeah.
because the comparison of vocal and stuff like that, it was like I was also being compared to a local artist. I will not mention who she is, just out of respect. And they were like, listen to so and so, if you want to get to that level, you need to do this and that. And I was just like, oh man, this is just too much. And for me,
Yeah.
I slowly dwindled away from it, and I shoved it under a carpet. But for those that know me vocally, they just like, Refilwe, you have such a gift. One of those people is Kelly Kumalo. She said to me, you have such a gift, and you've been sleeping on it, like you slept on it,
Yeah.
because your gift is a ministry. But it's like, I will get the guts. I slowly be psyching myself up to maybe actually get back into it. But I also believe that when there's a time where it is that God places an importance to what it is He wants to amplify on the platform at at that time, listen to what's happening. Because that's another thing, is that when we dabble in so many things, also we tend to miss what it is that we need to focus on at that point in time, because God is saying something. He's saying, I want to do something with this thing at this point in time, until he says, okay, let me shift gears for you and take you
Yeah.
to this, because now this chapter is over. This module is done. This module of this degree is done. And now I need you to focus on this other module, because there's a bigger picture behind everything eventually when it comes
Yeah.
together.
I love it. I love the wisdom. It's like this. It's exactly like the voice note. The Mpumi said in the voice note, she's so wise and has so much wisdom, and I learned so much from her. It's true. It's true, man.
Thank
I'm
you.
really
Thank you
enjoying
so
this
much.
conversation. And like, you sound very like self-motivated, and and like you said that
I had
um,
to.
in the industry there wasn't not a lot. There's not a lot of girls that look like you, so you kind of had to stand up for yourself and carve out an existence and create an existence in some people who don't have, the
Create
open
that
mind.
blueprint.
So you had to
Create
fight
that
for a
blueprint.
lot of that. Yeah. Did you have any mentors at any point that kind of like guided you, kind of like showed you the ropes, or like just helped you with your journey? Or did you like, was it mostly just you creating yourself and trusting in God the whole time?
In all honesty, it's always been me. I can't actually say that there was somebody that was responsible for holding my hand and saying, let me help you through these ropes. I've literally had to be the blind person that finds their own way.
Yeah.
And I know it's such a loaded statement, because there's nobody that can say that they are responsible for my journey. In all honesty, I've had to learn everything by myself. The difference is being able to take different references and using that to discern how it is that you use in your own journey. And for me, which is so weird, at a very young age, as much as you can have mentors, I've never really believed in them, because everybody has a specific journey that is created for them. So yours
Yeah.
could be completely different. But I mean, I have people that I've looked up to, but to actively say that I've had a mentor, somebody guide me and say, okay, this is what's happening. No. People that I look up to, sure. People that I take advice from, sure. But hand in hand with somebody, no. Because
Yeah.
I've had to be that person to also understand from a deeper level how my own journey was going to pan out and what it is that I would have to listen to so deeply that would not be able to be articulated to the next person that is not in your shoes, that's never been there, that's never going to tell you how to do it because your journey is just that dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And has there been anyone else who, like any young girls or young boys who also have albinism who's trying to pursue a career like yours? Have anyone like that reached out to you for some guidance or some advice on how to go about maybe
Can I tell
building
you,
their?
it's not even, can I tell you, the funny thing with me is that it's not just people with albinism that I inspire. I think I'm one of those forces which is inspiring more than just the person with albinism, but
Yeah,
anybody that has felt marginalized, anybody that has felt like they didn't fit in, anybody that has felt like, shoot, I needed to hear that to give me strength in my own journey. So I get approached by anybody because I don't wanted to stick to just an albinism factor. Yes, there's a
yeah,
lot of inspiration that has come through from people with albinism that aspire to do this. But my message has always been bigger because you could be in a complete different mode. But the bigger message is whatever it is that you are destined to become it regardless of how it is that you're painted, right? Or how it is that society expects you to be. And that's always just been my biggest thing. So I do get approached consistently and I do give advice where I can, you know what I mean? But it's not just people with albinism. For me, I'm all about humanity as opposed to just this one track that says it's this specific group. It's across the board because at the end of the day, we're just all human beings. We're all made by one God who wants to fulfill something great in all of us. So
yes,
we give a piece of ourselves to each and every person that we encounter in the world.
yeah.
So it's not just specific to one group. It's
Hmm.
anybody that you touch within your journey.
And as positive people, we my people is from the same tribe, and
So
sometimes we have our dips too, and sometimes we have our heavy dips where we feel like, I just need to take a break, I can't be who the world needs me to be right now. I just need to
yeah,
breathe or whatever. Do you ever have moments like that, or do you remember a moment like that? And usually, what gets you out of that funk?
I definitely do have moments like that because I'm human. But I
Yes.
think the difference for me is that I'm very honest with my emotions. If something is not fine, it's not okay, and I'm not going to pretend like it's okay. So what I do is I take a moment, I step back, I maybe become quiet as well. That's another thing that people don't expect. I'm like, it's okay to be quiet. It's okay to not constantly be in people's faces because also it's not to say that I ask to be in people's faces. It's just the space that I play in. I feel absolutely no pressure to succumb to what the world wants me to be. So I've
Yeah.
learned to listen to myself. And in those moments, I cocoon. And it's
Yeah.
absolutely okay. And if I'm not cocooning, I'm doing something absolutely crazy where people are just like, okay, what's going on with this one? But not in a bad way.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to, for the sake of language, I don't want to, it's like up, and not having to becoming a rock star. Let me put it like that. And
Yeah.
it's okay to have those moments, but to also then come back and draw yourself towards yourself and say, okay, it's fine. I'm not okay right now, but the God that I made me has a reason as to why it is that I need to be in the stillness. Because I call moments like that stillness, where you need to draw yourself back in and understand what the message is at that point in time, or what it is you're supposed to learn, because everything is a lesson, right? Or how it is that you're supposed to grow, because even in those moments when you're not okay, those are growth points, because you're then able to identify and say, okay, this is what is not going right. Okay, this is what I'm faced with. How do I deal with this? Or how do I move forward from it? How do I react to it? Or how do I find the light at the end of this tunnel?
Yeah.
So I've had those moments. I'm not, those moments are like where you feel like, I really don't want to see people. I don't want to experience them. I don't want to, how can I say it? I mean, I've been in even dark places, and I mean, dark places, like, I don't call it depression because I wasn't clinically diagnosed with that. But to get to a point where you're like, literally, you don't want to wake up. I've been
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
I've been in moments where you say, Yara, can you just take me hot because I cannot stand
Yeah.
everything that I'm going through. But you're then reminded, for me personally, I'm reminded that God doesn't make mistakes. There's a reason why it is I'm at that crossroads that I need to get through. The difference is going to be my perseverance, my resilience, my, excuse my French, fuck that shit attitude, basically.
Yeah.
It's going to be that. It's going to be that. Am I going to allow myself to really fall, or am I going to rise above it and say, I know who I belong to? I
Yeah.
know who I belong to. I know the thousands that I walk with. I know who my ancestors are. They are not people who gave up. They
Yeah.
were fighters. They were warriors. Look at the
Mhm.
history that we come from. Just as Black people, we are warriors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like I mean, you remind me of this one saying that I've like come to realize, with about great people, about geniuses, and all the people that we admire. It's the
Yeah.
pain and struggle that has molded them. It's the pain and struggle that has molded it. And once you
That's it.
get to see it that way, and you see the lessons in it, you understand that you are more powerful now, that you've grown now, you're a lot
That's it.
wiser, and you
That's it.
also have something to teach the next person now.
Yeah.
So. And
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 also,
that's how
what do you want to leave behind? What
yeah,
do you, if you really want to have a vision for yourself, what do you want to leave behind? What is that legacy that you want to leave behind? What do you want to say if your name is to last through time and
yeah,
transcendence? What is that would be remembered and be like, wow, there was a force that came, did it, and rocked it out.
yeah. Of course, yeah, you must make the best of your time in this life because this world can really be something beautiful if you open
Yeah,
your mind and just change your perspective from the things that you seem as challenging.
that's true.
But here's my one thing for you. I want to ask you, and only because I feel that it's not fair, it wasn't fair how this happened. But I would really like to know when will that girl come back, the singing girl, because I don't think it's fair that she took the back seat because of someone else. If anyone's gonna put in the back seat, it's gonna have to be you, and no one has put you ever there. So when are you gonna embrace that side of you again? I don't know, maybe content creation. I don't know what. I don't know on
Let me tell you,
whatever. Just but
it's
when are you gonna do it?
definitely it's definitely something. Look, I haven't entirely taken a back seat. I mean, if people know I featured on Pretty Ugly stuff, it's just that I'm so subliminal about it. You know what I mean? I'm not making a noise about it. That girl is going to come back when she finds the right team to work with and is the
Okay.
correct space to say, okay, this is a chapter that I really full on, that I'm completely, I want to say ready, but I'm now called to really focus on this. Because I mean, at the moment now, I mean, I've become an international award-winning actress, guys. Please, can you just check the vision? I'm trying to kill. I'm trying to kill that black representation thing in Hollywood. And I mean, kill black
Yeah,
representation. I
yeah,
mean, in the context of saying that there's black representation, that a narrative is that where a narrative needs to explore that is ordinarily not explored when we're telling stories of people like myself. So that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to break those barriers that are set out there to say, hey, we're closing this like this. And it's like, no, actually, can I just kick this door and allow every other person to come through it? So my focal point right now is, to become this actress that is able to tell stories and able to say that I too am able to tell these stories by being seen as just You.
Yeah.
I can be seen as you. You know what I mean? So the focal point is that right now, but the music is definitely a pain that I need to address. And I don't mean a pain, I'm just saying it's a pain because a lot of people are on my back about it. They're like,
Yes.
Refilwe, please, man, please,
No,
please.
I agree because I mean
It's like a
you have,
ghost.
yeah,
Unfinished
like
business.
you have to do right by you. Honestly, but if you think about it, you have to do right by yourself, because like it's what that person said kind of like ruined it for you, and you have to do
No,
right
it
by
did.
yourself. You get that
Yeah,
strength back. So you
yeah.
owe it to yourself. And you're a powerful woman, and and you can, and I can tell in most of the things, and you just come across, and that's
Hey,
just your
man.
way of like putting yourself out there. So come on, girl.
Hey man, but also let's be honest, the music industry is also doggy dog. And I think at the
Oh,
time I was just like, yo. Hi, wait. Can I just rest before it? Can I just like
yeah,
just for now until I can really figure it out and be strong enough to be
yeah,
very firm in that space. Because I'm firm in these other spaces, but this
yeah,
little this little thorn that is in
yeah.
my hand, I need to just address at a
Yeah,
time where it is okay, saying, okay, I'm picking you out now. Yeah.
yeah. Awesome. Okay, we're looking forward to that. Take your time, do what you need to do, and when you're ready to shine, let us know because we're gonna be there. We want to be there. All right, Refilwe, I've had such a lovely time chatting to you, but unfortunately, it's coming to the end of our interview, and I have to hit you with my question, my final question that I always hit all my guests with, and I hope you had a good time yourself. Did you?
I did. You're awesome. Your energy is amazing. God must just bless you.
Thank you. You too. You too. You too. Honestly, I mean, you've got such a story to tell, and a lot of people need to hear it and be inspired by it and grow from it. So awesome stuff. But with my final question, I'm gonna put you in my time machine, right? And I'm gonna dial it back to a time where it was a very, very young version of yourself,
Yeah.
a very, very young Refilwe. Maybe in a time that you kind of needed some guidance and some
Mhm.
advice, where you felt like where to go from now, or you just did some strength. And
Mhm.
it's the version of you today, having walked the journey, having broken down these walls, and having opened people's minds and inspired so many people and learning the lessons that you've learned, you know.
Mhm.
You have
Mhm.
5 minutes to give us some guidance and advice. What would that be?
Firstly, life is not perfect. There's an ideology that the world tries to paint that life is perfect. Life is not perfect. In those imperfections, as you go along, you're going to make mistakes. As you go along, you're going to fail. Failure is very necessary in order for you to identify the success that it is that you're going to build for yourself. Because without that, then you don't know the difference of anything that you're going to go through. So brace yourself, hold on tight, be firm, be strong, stick to your vision, and don't ever doubt the maker that's made you because there's a reason why it is who you are. And don't feel like your circumstances or your experiences dictate where it is that you're going, because there's always a vision going forward that is going to make sense to you at some stage of the bigger picture of why it is that you're here. So be patient with yourself, be kind to yourself, listen deeply and intuitively. And when you get to that point where you understand it all, do things with the greatest intention and the greatest of love and light.
I felt like you rehearsed that. I felt like you rehearsed.
I
I felt
did.
like you knew I was going to answer that question
I
because it
promise to
came out
God I
so
did.
perfect.
You see, that's another thing about me. Things come from the divine. So
Abs-
I'm inspired by what comes from divine. So it's not me that
Absolutely.
speaks, but the divine, the greater
Absolutely.
that speaks. Yeah.
Refilwe, are you coming back next week? We're going to have you next week again on the show.
Let's
Next
go!
Tuesday.
I'll be your
Hilarious.
co-host this time. I'm the cheerleader.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this. Your energy is amazing, honestly. And like, yeah, you need to be seen in more spaces. You need to reach more people because I believe once they encounter you, they're definitely gonna be blessed with something. And thank you so much for blessing us on the show.
For now, they can even go
Is
and listen to my TED Talk. So they must go online, TEDx, to get more insight on me. But there's also some amazing things that are coming that are going to blow your mind. So they must just keep posted to the socials because I don't like to speak too early.
I was actually gonna ask about that. Yeah, so if there's anything that like I didn't mention or I didn't give you a chance to mention, and something that you would love to share, please
Yeah.
do so now, also share your social handles or where we can, and like you said, with the whole TEDx talk, where we can be part of anything that you are doing, and with your journey. So
Yeah.
boom, go for it.
There are a number of productions that are going to come through, but as I said, I think I don't want to divulge anything. I usually am a
Yeah.
person that divulges until the end, the finished product of everything. But there's definitely something incredible and amazing that you will look forward to that is going to be on your screens, um, mainly on television.
Yeah.
That's coming quite soon. Still waiting for other ones to just be confirmed because there's politics behind this broadcast. But that and my social media handles, on Twitter, it's at Vanilla Black with a Q. On Instagram, it is Refilwe Modiselle, my full name. And on Facebook, it's Refilwe Vanilla Black Modiselle. On TikTok, guys, I'm hardly on TikTok, okay? But it's the real Refilwe Modiselle. And yeah, just okay, there's lots to follow. Just watch and see. You'll see for yourself. You must not talk too
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Refilwe. Like I said, I had such a good time with you, and like you should just keep going. The Lord must just take you into spaces where more people can embrace you and learn from you. But it's time for me to say good night to you. Thank you so much for being a guest and being such a wonderful guest on tonight's show. Like I said, I hope you had fun, and yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Adios, amigos, and God bless you and God bless everybody else. And be spirited.
Amazing. Good evening to you. Awesome stuff, ladies and gents. I hope you enjoy that as much as I did. That's it from Refilwe and her journey. And I'm about to wrap up my journey with you guys tonight. So if you guys want to follow me, you can catch me on Facebook. If you're not following me just yet, for those people who are tuning in on YouTube and those other viewers that are viewing in the background through your friend's phone or through your, not through your friend's phone, but through your son's phone or your wife's phone or whatever, those other people that's watching, yo, follow. Follow me on Facebook. You can catch me at Lunga Chuka, the Energizer Funny. That is at Lunga Chuka, the Energizer Funny. On Instagram, you can catch me at Lunga Chuka. And for exclusive snippets of The Price of Fame, you can catch us on Instagram at The Price of Fame ZA. Price of Fame ZA. And in the bio, it will take you straight to, you'll get the link that will take you straight to my YouTube page, which will give you all the episodes from season 1 up until season 2, the extended episodes of all these amazing people with the amazing stories that we can all learn from. That's what you get on the YouTube page. When you're there, like, subscribe, right? And then, like you heard in the beginning of the interview, if you've been here from the beginning, that we had some voice notes. Also, last week, we had voice notes coming in, participating. If you feel like you have a question that you want to participate in this conversation and you want to ask the guest a question, holler at us on Anchor FM. There is a voice note feature there that you can do. Send it through. We will get it immediately and we'll play it in the interview. And that's where you can get a chance to also ask your own personal question. Other than that, you can also catch us on Apple and Spotify as well for the audio version of The Price of Fame. Well, that's it, ladies and gents. May you have a lovely evening further. My name is Lunga Chuka. I've been your host, and this is The Price of Fame.